Tres Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
Just watch these two. There's a run play in between them. Number 2 at the bottom. Okay. So to me, it looks like they were in some type of cover 3 with the safety buzzing down, and the corner realizes, we should have been railroading those verticals.
Well,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a mess. And so here's the next play. This is this is our 2 plays later. 2 plays later.
Oh my gosh! Throw it up. Throw it down here.
Well, and the corner at the bottom on that Virginia Tech one, he butt turns to the sideline like zone. I didn't see the guy at the top.
Does. Exactly.
But
lets the seam run right by him, which, if you're a cover 3 corner, you better railroad seams, right? Like, you better, if you get 2 seams, you better railroad them.
If you get double seam, you should be splitting the difference. But he's butt turning from a man position. Yeah. He's in a man position.
This happens all the time. In every game you watch. But their D-line, most of the time, bails them completely out. You see this happen, and Baines and them are after the quarterback, and it don't matter.
By the way, that looks like A&M film then.
Yeah. Right. Well, I know we do it. We do
when
it about
we're in zone.
When we're in zone, yeah.
When we're in zone,
yeah.
Which
we do this about 1/5 of the time. They do. I promise you. If you watch, I didn't watch all the games. I watched probably 4 of them on the offense, and it's like 5 to 6 times a game. There's such a coverage bust that it should be a touchdown if the quarterback can just get the ball delivered.
If I'm the defensive coordinator for Texas A&M, here's what I tell our team. We're going to run zone about 10 times today, and it's only to make Carson Beck understand that we can, but we're going to play man 90% of the night. That's what I'm telling him. That's what I'm telling our defense, because Carson Beck will pick our zone apart with 5 and 8 yard throws.
Right. No, that's what they are. They are a ball control air raid on offense.
Yeah, it's air raid scheme, but it is all about, quick checks. The only part I worry about in man is they're going to run Tony. If we just play a lot of man and they see it, they're going to run Tony on those mesh drags, those shallow drags. But other than that, everything they run is short passing game stuff.
All right, guys. Welcome to Tres Amigos, episode 2517. Getting ready for the playoff game coming up Saturday. Excited about that. So I'll introduce myself. My name's Matt Fomer. Coached for about 10 years, high school coach here in the state of Texas. Blessed to be a part of a state championship in 2013 down in Carthage, but coached for 6 years there, and coached about 3 years down in Willis, north of Conroe, where old DJ Lagway, who's now in the portal, graduated from. Be interested to see where that kid ends up. But that's a little bit about me. I now am in the insurance game here in Hallsville, Texas, and so that's about me. Mark, tell them about yourself, boss.
I'm Mark Brown. Also coached at Carthage for 10 years, I think, on and off a couple of different stints. But I want to give a shout out to Scott Surratt and the Carthage Bulldogs. They'll be making their 11th appearance in the state championship game in 19 years. Pretty unbelievable. They're 10-0 in that game, and they play West Orange Stark, who's home of one of my all-time favorite Aggie, Kevin Smith, the pup from back in the day. So 2 storied programs going after it. So just wanted to give a shout out to them. Obviously, Carthage also has 2 of A&M's better recruits that are coming in next year. So just want to give a shout out to those guys, because they do a phenomenal job. Got to spend a little time with them at the semifinal game, and they just do an unbelievable job. So good luck to the Bulldogs this week. I was part of 5 state championships at Carthage. So.
Well, there you go. Seth, pull up that picture if you would. Mark mentioned he went and watched him this last week against Brock. Got to watch Edwards. I saw the stat line. It was something stupid, like 11 carries.
11 carries, 182 yards.
Yeah, that's like Madden. That's like Madden stats back in the day. But Mark took a picture with the linebacker recruit Beck. What can you tell us about Mr. Beck watching? I know we don't really follow. We're not the recruiting guys, but we get to watch a little bit. So
Look, when you're recruited by everybody like he was, obviously a physical talent. I sent y'all another picture when he walked out of the locker room. I was standing there outside the locker room doors, and I took a quick picture because, I'm not a big dude, but this dude is he's just built. God gifted him in many ways, but more than that, I know a lot of Quees family. Um, since they're Carthage people, even though some people say Carthage recruits, but most of those kids are homegrown. And he's just a phenomenal young man. I got to talk to him a little bit after the game. Obviously, he was very young at my last stint at Carthage, so just kind of only knew him from camp in the summer. But he's a phenomenal young man, very soft spoken, but plays at a whole different level. They've moved him around for their needs. He's played inside linebacker, but he's really phenomenal off the edge at outside linebacker. Has a ton of speed, even with that size. The Aggies got a good one right here in my mind. So
Yeah, I'll be honest. I got to watch him last year in the state game, and we're going to go up again Friday and watch. But he just popped. I mean, as a coach, people would always, you deal with parents. Oh, my kid's D1, my kid's D. You don't have to tell a coach, a high school coach.
yeah.
They can see it. And as a fan, when you watch a high school game, you can usually see it too. So he was pretty special. But
And I will say this, Matt, Carthage runs a very dynamic defense. They base out of a 4-3. They're rarely in a 4-3. They'll play some 3 down, drop the rush off. They do a lot of different blitz packages. Darren's really good at, running the base stuff like, smoke and stuff, but he also does some cross dogs and some things like that. And Beck has played inside and outside in a defense that does pattern read cover 4, true cover 4, cover 2 carry. I mean, a lot of different concepts that you'll see at the college and pro level that they ask those kids to do. And so Beck has played in that kind of system. So his knowledge of football is probably going to be super high when he comes in. So imagine, if you will, if I had to make a comparison, which I don't like to do with kids, but he's York with speed.
I like it.
Yeah.
And more length.
And more length.
Yep. All right. Well, Seth, tell them a little bit about your history and background, boss.
Our name is Seth Drennan, coached for 16 years at various smaller schools or schools that are not very talented, the Wake Forest of the world. So I identify with Elko in that regard. This is a super. I'm so happy to be back on here and talking because I was climbing the walls for a couple of weeks. Watched way too much film. Actually had to do some work like in the insurance office that was pending, and I'd been putting off for most of the season. So it got done finally, and we're back here. I don't have much to add outside of we did have some timely news hit this morning, so I thought we could talk about, and Mark and Matt, feel free to chime in because I think this is something that people would want to know what we had to say about this. But the coaching hire this morning of Coach Travis Williams, the former Arkansas defensive coordinator. This is, I believe, a phenomenal hire. And I know people who immediately think Arkansas defense, phenomenal hire. Go talk to Auburn people about him. This guy is an absolute dog of a recruiter. Absolute.
That's what I was about to say.
He flipped it. You go back into the recruiting cycle a while back. He got one of the best linebackers in the country to commit to play at Arkansas over Florida. That is not easy to do. So what you're seeing is you're seeing, and I think it's okay to talk about this because from a staff building perspective, we are in a new era as well, just like everything else about college football. And what you're seeing is, I believe, a combination of one of the biggest conundrums a coach used to have with the limited number of assistant positions that could be on the field coaching was, do I hire a guy who's really good at recruiting, or do I hire a guy who's really good at tactician? An in the details, in the weeds tactician, because typically those two guys are not one and the same, right? Like the guy who can talk and sell may not be the most detail oriented person on earth, and the one who's detail oriented is probably like, you would not want to send them into a 5-star wide receiver's home or linebacker's home to talk to them about coming to play here because it would be a disaster. Well, now it's Elko's answering that question with, why not both? He did it last year too with Coach Wiggins, who if I look, these guys have forgotten more football than I'll ever know in my life. Let me just preface that by saying, but their strengths and weaknesses. Coach Wiggins is one of the best recruiters you can have at a receiver coach position. He's also known to be a really good schematic mind as well. But we saw some of the on-field stuff with the receivers, some of the tactical things weren't maybe as polished as they should have been. And what do? They go out and hire this guy named Coach John Perry, who most people probably never even heard his name unless you're nerds like us who really dig in on this stuff. But our receiver play has gotten better through personnel as well, which Coach Wiggins is directly responsible for. But we have seen on film that the receiving core and the passing game is extremely good this year when it comes to how well they're coached, how polished they are, route spacing, route running, all of the things. So what we're seeing Elko do is, why not both? That old Bluebell commercial, like, why not both? Why
That's
not have
right.
the tactician and the guy who can go sell and put personnel in the room? And Coach Travis Williams, I don't know much about him outside of, I do know he can sell. I do know that for sure, that he can recruit. And I would not be shocked to see another staff addition, kind of like a John Perry at the line. I think he's going to end up doing this at every position. I'm not saying that some coaches can't, like, some coaches can do both, but like, you're going to see basically each position have its own little, like, here's the head coach of that position group, and he has these two guys that are on the field helping him coach. Why not? Why not? You know what I mean? So it's like, in this modern era, I think that's why you see when Coach Elko signed his extension that we kept hearing about this expanded staff pool like crazy. It's not necessarily to go out and pay top dollar for these singular guys. It's to expand this model out of having a positional head coach and then some guys that work for him that all get the job done, which I think is wonderful. I think is
Well,
great. So
and
anyway,
in
I just wanted to kind of
today's
bring that
world,
up. What do y'all think about that?
no, I think it's great. I think in today's world where you got the NIL and the transfer portal and recruiting, back in the day, you just had recruiting. That's all you had to do. You just recruit high school kids, and that's what you do. Well, now you got to recruit high school kids. You got to scan the portal. You got to recruit those kids. You got to make sure you're keeping your kids that you want happy. So it's a lot. But yeah, no doubt. Well, guys, before we get going, I want to say thank you. The podcast that we did after the TU game had over 2,000 views on YouTube. We added another
We know that
100
was hard too.
subscribers.
We know that was hard.
It
Based on
was,
the
it was.
comments, to go watch that.
But here's what I'm asking, guys. We're 75 subscribers away from our goal of 1,500 subscribers. So please continue to comment, like, share, and send it to your friends. We'd really like to hit that 1,500 mark before the end of this year. So, excuse me. And my daughter would probably kill me if I did not mention this before we talk about the playoff game. But being a volleyball dad, if you have not kept up with our volleyball team at A&M this year, you are missing out. They went up. They're having a historical season, first time they've ever made it to the Final Four as a team in the NCAA tournament. And to make it to the Final Four, they had to go to Nebraska and beat Nebraska, a team that had been 33-0 on the season, had only lost 7 sets all year. Went up there and won the game in 5, won the first 2 sets, had to battle the third. The 4th set might have been the best volleyball set I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen such effort from both sides. The Nebraska girls, A&M's girls, unbelievable set. Nebraska had not been beat at home in 3 years. And just a little background on some of the kids on this team. And if you listen to our preseason podcast, you heard me mention the volleyball team and how I thought they had a chance to do some of these things, but just a little snippet of some of the girls that may give you some understanding of why this is such a fun team to follow. Logan led Nikki, who's an outside hitter for them, a right side hitter for them. Her dad was a walk-on long snapper on the 98 football team. Comes from an Aggie family, came to A&M when A&M's volleyball team was not very good. The program was not very strong. Came here with the mindset of we want to make this a place to be for volleyball, and has done that. So Cosmopala, which I'll butcher her name, I apologize. Probably my favorite player to watch on the team. She's a middle, 6'2". If you follow volleyball at all, middles are known for blocking. That's really, I mean, if you can get a little offense out of them, great, but I want you to block. Cosmopala is probably the best blocker in the nation. On top of that, she's a heck of an offensive threat. But what impresses me the most is she's the best server on the team. You don't normally get that from a middle in volleyball. And then the other thing, if you watch our games, you don't ever see middles hitting the ground to keep a ball up. And if you watch, that girl will hit the ground and doesn't hesitate to do it to help her team. It is unbelievable athleticism and effort. So it's just so much fun to watch. And then a name that we probably should be aware of, Stowers, Eli Stowers, who's here as a quarterback, now is probably going to be a first-round draft pick at tight end for Vanderbilt. His sister, Kendall, who started her volleyball career at Baylor, had some concussion issues, didn't think she'd ever play again. They got her released. She has to wear one of those collar devices, to help protect her for that. But she has been unbelievable addition to the team this year, all SEC, and led the team in kills against Nebraska the other night. They just could not stop her. She was eating them alive.
She was.
So just want to give a shout out to those girls, man, and Coach Morrison. They're doing a great job. Appreciate everything they do and growing the program. They're going to be playing Pitt Thursday night on ESPN at 5:30, so encourage everybody to tune in for that. But just wanted to give them a little snippet before we move on to the football games.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Can I say this? Like, so if you're like me, and I don't watch a lot of girls sports. Like, I cannot watch over 32 seconds of any kind of softball. But girls sports wise, if you wanted to watch a girls sport, volleyball is the sport to watch. It is so much fun. It's very momentum driven. Teams can get on a roll. The coaches basically use their timeout. The team scores 5 or 6 in a row. They use the timeout to change that momentum, and it works. It doesn't always work in other sports, but it does in this one. But it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a very entertaining game to watch. It is very nerve wracking. I don't know how parents of people watch their girls play volleyball, because it is a extremely nerve-wracking sport, but a lot of fun. So tune into the Aggie Volleyball. It's a pretty neat run they're on right now.
Yeah, to give you a little idea of. Go ahead, Seth. Go ahead.
Coach Morrison. I'd like to shout out Coach Morrison and Coach Elko and Coach Bucky. There's some synergy happening amongst the coaches right now that I don't remember that I really like. It seems like some guys who are, like a rising tide lift all boats versus this adversarial thing that sometimes happens on college campuses. It shouldn't be that way, but you'd be shocked. You got to think head coaches at this level sometimes have bigger egos than the average of American male does. Sometimes there's some adversarial things that happen, right? So anyway, Coach Morrison, I think back to when Elko talked about the moment, and he has to be opposite of the moment. And just from a coaching psychology standpoint, Coach Morrison, the way he handled that Nebraska game, man, that's a master class.
It's crazy.
I don't know if it worked if it was his first year there, but the fact that he's been with Lednicki for so long and some of those seniors for so long, and he's like, hey, this is what we always wanted to work towards, and you should just go have fun. That was so cool. And he's smiling in that. I don't even watch volleyball that much in that fourth set where we were at set point
it was nuts.
10 in a row, and he's just smiling. After the serve error, I was like, I don't know if I could muster a smile right there. I could do it.
So I was going to say 2 things, Seth, on that. One, I give all the props to Oko for kind of bringing that to light and making that the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Because when you're the head football coach, I know they have an athletic director, whatever. The biggest sport on campus is football. And when Elko sets that precedent, it's easy for the other, not saying Morrison or the other ones didn't support football. I'm just saying it's easier when the top sport does that. The other thing I'll tell you in 2 things on how Morrison is and how cool you're exactly right, how cool he is to watch. They were down 10-3 when the game started like that. If you watch the very first set, Nebraska came out and it was boom, boom, boom. They were up 10-3. And everybody's talking about, Nebraska's going to sweep this one. They're going to keep winning. But Morrison takes a timeout. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. They all went sit down, and he just kind of went over there. And if you listen to the girls at break, he said, guys, just take a deep breath. Play like you can play. Just take a deep breath, enjoy the moment, and let's go play. And next thing you know, they had it turned around. They were up by 3. They won the first set, and it was rolling. And then I saw the same thing because I'm like you, man. I'm watching the game, and it's 32-32. We serve it into the net, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, what are you doing? And he's laughing about it. He's laughing. I'm like, oh, my gosh, that's so cool.
It blew my mind. Yeah, it blew my mind how cool he was in that.
We know what
Which
Matt.
is in Olympic matches, right? So that's
Yeah.
probably, you know what I mean? Like that'll give you some perspective. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
We know what Matt would have been doing as the coach. He'd have fired the kid, taken the kid out. He'd have lost his flipping mind. Like, you should just read our freaking group text during a football game. He's like, "Oh my God,
Hey,
fire that
LSU.
guy!" And I'm like, "No, calm down."
I freak out about that. And Mark freaks out about insurance. So,
All
um,
right.
all right, so
Oh,
we'll get
man.
started. We're going to talk about the Miami defense. Get started. They basically have a 4-2-5, which I mean that's pretty much everybody nowadays. Everybody I keep listening to these guys talk, and Miami's so good against the run, and Miami is good against the run. I have no doubt. You know, and I'll be honest, when I turned on film with the athletes they have on the D line, I expected to see them shooting gaps and trying to fly upfield. And I'm thinking, you know, we can run some counter stuff and open that up. But they're really sound. Their D line's very good, gap sound. I give them all the credit in the world, and they're going to be hard to run against. But I want you to remember, they give up 113 yards on the ground per game. That's their average. LSU gives up 117 on the ground per game. Would you say LSU's great against the run?
Yes.
Well, we hit them for 224. Auburn gives up 99 on the ground. They're good against the run. We hit them for 207. So my point is, yes, they're good against the run, but I don't think it's going to be impossible for us to have a good day on the ground, is my point. So, I think that their D-line, anytime you turn on film and their whole D-line is single-digit numbers, you know they're athletes. I mean, that's just kind of,
No doubt.
that's just kind of how you don't see a 72 or 67 or, you know, you
right.
see 3, 4, 11, and 5. So you know they got athletes up there. Number 4, Baines, their main guy. He's going to be a high draft pick, 6'3", 270, and has a motor. Will get after you. For sure, he's gonna be a challenge for our offensive tackles, and they're much more disciplined than I thought they would be. To be honest with you, with the athletes, a lot of times you get those athletes, and we talked about it last year with our 2 DNs and how athletic they were, but sometimes they played outside the system. And to their credit, they're pretty sound on that D line. So definitely going to be a challenge there. So what'd you see on that D line, Seth?
Yeah, well, just to echo what you said, like the Ruben, Bain has the capability of just single-handedly. Football is as team of a sport as there is, but that there are certain players like we saw with Miles Garrett back in the day. That's who. I mean, I hate to say he's him because Miles Garrett is maybe turning out to be maybe the best of all time, but he does give me vibes of Miles Garrett on how big and fast he is and how much he can just take a game over all of a sudden with just on the edge, and then the other guys too. And for how sound they are up front, let's go ahead and transition to linebackers, and I'll come in after you talk about the linebackers with some of the stuff I saw.
Okay. So yeah, I saw the same thing. But linebackers, their number 1 linebacker is their Mike. He wears number 1, leads team with tackles 96, has 11 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks. He's a good linebacker. He just doesn't. I don't think he's great. I really don't. I think their D line hides a lot of their weaknesses in linebacker. And we got some film here. He plays very flat-footed, doesn't react particularly well, doesn't read particularly well, in my opinion. If you pull up that first film, there's 3 plays in a row here, and you'll see kind of, I think Miami gets tired of him playing flat-footed and just decides to send him. But this is the first play you can see here. He's right there in the middle, and I just want you to watch how slow he reacts to the run play here. So you see flat-footed. The other linebacker's already shot. He's still back here, and he allows that lineman to get up to him. Now, the lineman's not very good. Hopefully our lineman's going to do a better job. But he's just flat-footed. So then the next play you see, the SMU coaches see it too because they're going to run that rail out of the back and make sure it's on him, and he's flat-footed there and can't run with him there. He just doesn't – I just don't see a whole lot of, read an explosion out of him. And so what they do on the very next play, the coaches kind of get tired of it. If you go to the next one, so watch him here. They say, screw it, we're going to take it out of your hands. We're just going to send you. And that's probably his best, they just send him, and then he doesn't have to read anything. He doesn't have to do anything. And so I'm not saying the kid's terrible. Obviously, he's playing at a very large D1 school. but I'm comparing him to the linebacker from Missouri that we went against, the linebacker from Auburn we went against. I just don't. I don't think he's in that category of high level linebackers. So, just my 2 cents. Seth, what'd you say?
Yeah, that's so. You watch. I looked at statistics first, and then I pulled up film second. And you pull up the statistics, and you see the run game statistics, and you're like, "Wow, that's pretty good." And then you go watch the film, and you're like, "Hmm, that's interesting because they look like they can be ran onto me." When I watch film, and I know the stats say they don't give up much in the run game, but we have to keep in mind when we're watching these films with Miami is that they are not in the SEC or the Big Ten. They are in the ACC, and they are playing rosters that wouldn't. I mean, they would be at the bottom of either of those conferences. Well, maybe not the Big. I have some gripes about the Big. The Big is like real top heavy, and then but the SEC from top to bottom is the most money spent on rosters by far. Maybe Ohio State spends more than everybody else, but if you added it up on average, I know the SEC is putting the most talent onto the field each week. So
You trying to
that
say
is part of the
Purdue?
equation that they are the most talented.
Are you trying to say
Wake
Purdue doesn't
Forest,
spend a lot of money
where our
on
boy
their
Elko
roster?
from. Trying to say them and Northwestern may not spend quite as much as Vanderbilt. And for your private school comparison, right? So what I'm trying to say is that I watch the film and I'm going, I know what the stats tell me, but I know what my eyes see too. And I'll get more on that point later at the end of this. They
I'm
struggle fitting
curious.
at the linebacker and at safety spot.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I'm curious. Like y'all
Go ahead,
showed
Mark.
2 clips. I didn't watch a lot of their defense, but y'all showed 2 clips, and one thing that I see in their 4-2-5 is they run the what we see in the NFL with an overload. Like they'll kind of have a 0 guy, a 3 technique, and a 5, and they covered that linebacker up twice with that. And then they move them back to their standard 4-2-5 where that 0 is looping. So I wonder how much loop stunts and how often they're going to give us those odd looking fronts, because that becomes very hard on run blocking schemes, especially zone, where you can't just say, we'll run your track when you've got a guy jumping to a different gap.
Yes. Well, they do. And what it does is it creates, tell me if you've heard this before, it creates a boom or bust run game for them. Like when they bust, they
Yes.
really bust. I mean, like Louisville won the game. I know Louisville hit some big passes on them, but I think Louisville won the game by being able to run the ball on them. Or like, I think that's what got them in position to win. And so I think when you go to the run stats, let's just talk about the run stats real quick before we go into the film more. They are not giving up much, but they are. If you go on Pro Football Focus and put the ACC into a spreadsheet and you sort it by run downs, Miami has played 290 or 279 or 291 rundowns. I'm sorry. And the average in the ACC of rundowns faced per team is 360. So 291 rundowns played. They have seen 70 less than the average ACC team. Why? Because they are so
Because
much
they're
more
ahead.
talented than every ACC.
Yeah.
They're ahead. Exactly. And everybody has to abandon the runs. Rightfully so. That's what you have to do. So that is skewing their stats down a little bit. Their missed tackle percentage, if we take number of rundowns played, number of missed tackles, for as athletic as they are, specifically very athletic defenses don't have a lot of missed tackles. They have a 20% missed tackle rate, which is 5th worst in the ACC. Now, for that talented roster they have, that's bad. Like that, they should be in the top 2 or 3. But I saw it on film. When you're watching film, you see missed tackles from the 2nd and 3rd level. You see bad run fits from the 2nd and 3rd level. Their D line plays it sound. I mean, very sound. But it's a team game. There's 7 other guys and 6 other guys that have to be involved in the run fits, and oftentimes that is where they get hit. And they have something that you see over and over again for a very aggressive defense. They have pretty bad eye discipline. And so what we saw this versus LSU. This is just we run this. That's power read is all that is.
Yep.
Off the jet
Quarterback
sweep
power
action.
read. Yep.
Yes. And you've got number 1 who is playing, look at where he's coming from, the backside Will who over pursues the entire play, right? Like that's not like that's what we see on film to say, while the stats say they are an elite run defense, the film says they may not be an elite run defense. And so my thing is, after watching the Texas game, where we may have let the stats drive what we did offensively in the Texas game more than our eyes did. I hope we revert back to, if we have success early in the run game, I think we can lean on these guys, just like we did, like Matt pointed out, against LSU and Auburn, against the grain on what the stats say you should do. Stats. So the film tells me we can run on.
Seth, I just want to give
Yeah.
a shout out to the umpire there for blocking the corner. It's a great job right there.
Dude,
Appreciate the help there,
hey,
bud.
I will say that Virginia Tech quarterback weighs about 240 pounds, so I feel bad for him. He's a big old dude, that Virginia Tech quarterback. And if Virginia Tech had any semblance of a passing game, I'm talking any, they would have beaten Miami this year. But they can't.
Well,
they cannot throw it at all. Like it is.
that's
They're borderline
that's a-
Navy or Army when it comes to
That's
offense.
a touchdown
So,
if we work on the umpire's blocking technique.
that's right. If we use him a little more leverage, get more leverage.
I mean,
on him,
he's got to understand you got to block the guy where he's going. Don't just go where he's at. He just barely got a piece of him.
right.
So
Yeah.
All right, so moving to the secondary, where I think that is particularly where their weakness is.
Yes.
So their best DBs, probably their nickel, number 0. That dude has been in college football for a long time. He was a 2-time
Yes.
All-American junior college kid. Then he transferred to Auburn, and now he is at Miami. I don't know if it's 6th year, 7th year. I don't know. Miami seems to get those 7th and 8th year kids. They had a
They
tight
really
end
do
a while
go get
back.
those old guys.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but they have terrible eyes, just really bad eyes in the secondary. If you'll pull up that film there and go to the screenshot first, so we can talk about. So we talked about this because, to be honest with you, I couldn't figure out if they were in cover 3 or if they were in man free, or it was so bad because, and I think we've agreed that it was cover 3 with, man free with a cover 3 under here. And so really, you got 2-by-1 here. So really this safety should be cheating this side. He already is, but at the snap, you'll see him roll more to the middle, and they run like a corner route with this guy, or we called it chop back at Carthage. And he just finds a little seam in the zone and works through it. And I don't know where he's looking. 2's free. He should have been right there on his hip. But his eyes were in the background the whole time, or the backfield, watching the quarterback's eyes, and definitely lost track of that. But that's what we're talking about. You see there the lost eyes, and I think Seth's got some more film to back that up as well. But just
Sure.
bad eyes in the secondary, and if we can run the ball effectively, then we're going to get those bad eyes because they're going to want to stop that run. They're going to be peeking in the backfield, and that's when Casey and Craver can do what Casey and Craver can do. So, what do you see back there, Seth?
Yeah, just to leave this play up a little bit, the tail of the tape with the SMU game was the fact that the D-line did not bail out the secondary like they usually do. If you go look at the stat line in that game and you watch it, SMU really couldn't run the ball hardly at all against them, which I don't know if SMU could really run the ball much this year, period. But Jennings was able to use his athleticism. He kind of hobbled this year from his scrambling ability, but he's still athletic enough to buy time. And that's a really good route too by that receiver. But still, like, we see this all the time. I got another clip here. It cracks me up because once again, we talked about how Virginia Tech really struggles to throw the ball. But this poor slot guy, this was not back to back, but these plays were about 3 or 4 plays apart. I think there was a run play in between here, and then they come back on the next series. You'll see the slot guy right there. So right there, this is where they get lost in. And this is where I laugh because we watch them, and the consensus on people talking about it was that they run man most of the time, and we're good versus man, and I agree. You go to Pro Football Focus and sort it by zone or man, like do the math behind zone or man. They're 80% zone according to Pro Football Focus, but I think that's because the guys putting in the Pro Football Focus data have no idea
Yeah, they don't
put
know.
in man or zone, and so they count. Okay, on this one there was 4 guys in zone and 2 guys in man. We're going to classify that as zone. That's because it's confusing Pro Football Focus, and it's confusing us as we watch. And I think that says I say with pretty good confidence that the secondary is likely very confused as well on some of these coverages. So yeah, right there you see that slot guy, and I'm gonna go back, and I wish I could fast forward it. Maybe I can't, but we'll let it play through these plays back to back, about 3 or 4 plays apart in the Virginia Tech game. That little slot guy in the exact same spot, they bust the coverage back to back, but Virginia Tech is very bad in the passing game. They don't see it. The pressure gets to the quarterback. He feels like he has to get rid of it. This is going to come back to the next play in just a second.
So that
And
looks like
you'll see the exact same three ball going.
that's a
Go ahead, Mark.
disguised man to inverted three is what that was on the last one.
Yeah, so they're checking into three right here too, but the corner just nobody runs with it, right? Like the corner's got his butt to the sideline. They checked into three right there, and I got a screenshot of that one too. So who's going with number 2 on the vert, and that's exactly what we saw in the SMU game happen too. Now,
yeah, it should be
you
the
see
corner.
this happen on film.
Yeah, he should be bailing, but he's not.
You see this happen on film a lot, but guess what happens? Ruben Baines says, "I don't care what's going on back there. I'm ending the play," and it's to moderate.
You can get away with that when you got that guy.
Well, yeah, exactly. Their D line is what makes the defense.
Yes, 100%.
100%. If the D line takes over every play, it will be a very long day for us. But if we can take the D line out of play, if you can get to the linebacker and secondary, whether it's run game or pass game, there are yards to be had against them and explosive plays to be had, not just yards. Like where we played Texas, where they're going to make you, and Missouri, they're going to make you nickel and dime them down the field. There's a lot of explosive potential here against this Miami defense if you can keep the D line from ending it, the play before it can get going. So
I agree with
that's
you.
one thing. That's one thing you don't see with Texas with all their cover 3 spin down looks is nobody runs wide open against those cats. They're the most
they keep everything in front. Yeah,
that's the
everything's
most
in front.
sound secondary I've seen in the last 5 years in college football. I think it doesn't get talked about enough. Yeah,
I mean, like he is. That's where. Yeah, I go back to that old saying that we say, like, the bend but don't break defense has this slight connotation to it that your defense sucks. No, like you can be very like Missouri. What Missouri does and what Texas does is that style of we're going to keep it all in front and we're just going to choke you out. Eventually, you're going to pass out. Like that's what they're going for. Where our defense is more like the Conor McGregor. We're trying to land a knockout blow on one of these downs. Their defense is more like the jiu-jitsu guy who's going to get you on the mat and get you and you're going to pass out or tap out, one of the two.
And
so it's 2 ways of doing it. Both can be very effective.
And I'll say this: I know I'm a defensive guy, but one of the things that I've seen Klein do against people that do this kind of stuff and kind of have some bad eyes is use the tight ends out of the backfield to put pressure on one of those zones, like where a linebacker has to choose: do I take this tight end that's coming, or do I take this one? And once he takes this one, the other one's wide open. We saw it in the I can't remember what game it was. One of the home games that we had, maybe the last one, but where a guy just pops wide open and you're like, how did that guy get so wide? It's because they stressed one of those underneath 4-2-5 guys.
I think you're thinking about
South
what we
Carolina
did.
game.
South Carolina, yeah.
That's it.
Down on the goal line, down on the.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
All right, Mark. Well, tell us about this Miami offense. What are we looking at?
Well, when you look at them, let's just start with quarterback because he's a guy that was at Georgia, right? And then somehow Georgia just says, okay, you can go. He's a 3,000-yard passer. He has 74% completion percentage, which is really good. He's thrown 25 touchdowns, but he has 10 interceptions. The key to what has made him successful is he has only been sacked 10 times this year. But again, I would like to go back to what Seth said about the D lines that he's facing. I would say that Miami has by far the best D line in the ACC, and I don't think it's close. They have one of the better D lines in college football. You put that up against what you normally see in the ACC is a little more, to me, undersized D line. They have some guys that can play, don't get me wrong, but overall, if you had to grade D lines in the ACC, it's a little bit undersized. So what makes him have such a high completion percentage is, I would say 90% of his passes are the 5 to 8 yard combination stuff. They get the ball out quick. Their O-line is very high. They're top 10 PFF graded. But a lot of that is because he's getting the ball out quick and things like that. He's not a guy that's going to beat you over the top. He can, don't get me wrong. He has the guys to do it. But again, everybody knows the knock on him, as far as what happened at Georgia. But I think that they've done a really good job of saying, okay, this is who he is. Let's scheme to that. Let's let him throw the short yard passing game and things like that. Let's let him get it to our high level wide receivers, who I'll get to in a minute. Their running back crew. Mark Fletcher's the leading rusher at 685 yards, and he averages about 4.9 yards a carry and 10 touchdowns. They have a guy named Charmar Brown with 389 yards and only averages 3.9. But lately, it's been the true freshman, Gerard Pringle. He's averaging 6.2 yards a carry. He did not play against SMU. So just think about that. And they're undefeated when he plays and has carries, just so you know. So that's the guy you're going to have to stop. And, I would say for us defensively, we've done a poor job at times, allowing, we'll be like, stop, big bust, stop, big bust. And we're going to have to do a good job of containing him so that they don't extend drives. But I think the Pringle kid is the one that we're really going to have to watch. At wide receiver, this is their offense. His name is Malachi Tony. He's number 10. He has 970 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. He has 89 yards rushing, and he has 82 yards passing. So they're going to line him up in, like the Wildcat, and they're going to run him out of it. But he will throw the ball, especially around the goal line. I saw him where they put him in at quarterback. They have a back to his side. They look like they're running full sweep to the right, and then they tight end blocks, releases, and was wide open. Tony is the guy that makes them go. If you're a defensive coordinator and you're building a scheme, you've got to deal with him. And here's the deal: because they use him in so many different ways, he's hard to deal with. Yeah, he'll just be a slot receiver and run slot receiver routes. That doesn't worry me as much, although he's still going to be able to get open probably. So Chappelle has a lot on his plate there. But if you decide you want to play man, and that's, just looking at it, if I'm a DC, I want to play man against these guys because of all the intermediate stuff. Take it away right now. Let's take it away. I'm going to run 2 things. I'm going to run a pattern read 4 to where we're going to lock at 5 yards. So I'm in a zone, but if I get something in my zone at 5 yards, I'm locking on it. It's kind of what San Francisco did against Dak years past, and really made Dak look bad because Kellen Moore just wanted to run, all stops, which is crazy. But anyway, I would want to run some man. The problem with that is when Miami sees you in that, what are they going to do? They're going to put Tony in the slot. They're going to run shallow mesh. You're in man. They're going to throw it to him on the other side of the ball, protect it out really well with some play action. And then he's going to catch the ball in space and put you in a bind, because now you're in man and your corners are run off and they don't have their eyes on what's underneath them. And so they've done that a lot. But you got to stop 10. You've got to find a way to stop 10. Like you said, I cut my teeth as a GA.
Can I pause you real quick and ask, like, is this if there was Tres Amigos for every other team we've played this year, is this what they're saying about KC Concepcion, basically?
Yeah, but I would say the difference with KC
trick stuff.
Yeah, no, but I would say the difference with KC is we're going to have a healthy Mario Craver who can do it from the other side. So they can line up KC on one side and Craver on the other side. So now where do you play your hey, how do we stop this guy if they get him the ball right now? That's really hard. We can stress a defense with I think that's the biggest key for us offensively, is having a healthy Mario Craver. He hadn't been healthy in a while. I don't know if everybody realizes that. Yeah, exactly. And he's healthy. And so I think you're going to see the original Mario Craver back, and that stresses the defense. With Miami, 10 is their guy. Any average person can turn on the film and watch about 3 games and go, oh my God, they're just trying to find ways to get 10 the football. Hand him the jet, put him in a wildcat, put him in the slot, whatever it is. Line him up outside as an off receiver and throw the tunnel to him. Whatever it is, you've got to figure out a way. We've got to know where he is. And I think that Elko, good and bad with this, is he's going to do some things. They're going to have you're going to see hands flying and stuff like that. If he is a wide receiver that's off the ball, but he's outside, he's the farthest guy from the ball, they're going to run some special coverages to that. because of that. So they like a trap coverage and a trap coverage would be like you take your corner, you see that they have that, you know that you could get an underneath tunnel, bubble, something like that. They'll run a trap. They'll let that corner bite on it right now, and then they'll play over the top behind him. I could see us doing some of that stuff. You just have to be very careful with that because you could get some backside bust on that. But yeah, they're talented. Their O-line is very good. Like I said, they're top 10 PFF. They've only given up 11 sacks this year. Part of the 11 sacks is their quarterback's going to get the ball out quick. It's going to be short, quick routes, tight end choice routes. Get the ball to him right now. Get the ball to Tony right now. So they don't give up a lot of sacks. But they're good. They're really good. They can run block. You don't get to this. You don't get to this level of football without a great offensive line. And you can ask those guys in Central Texas about that. They're one weakness of their team, and that's why they're on the outside looking in. To me, even though they might have gotten lucky at Thanksgiving. But I think that, this is what you're going to face. Here's the deal. You're going to face a really good offensive line this week and a really good offense with one cat daddy and a quarterback that can get in the ball. And next week you're going to face, if you win, you're going to get another dose of it. And the next week you're going to get another. D lines and O lines are going to be great from here on out. That's how teams are built. And so, like I was going to say, I cut my teeth in the secondary. It's what I wanted to coach my whole life. Whether helping at Trinity Valley with those guys and then GA and a little bit at North Texas with Coach Blau. But when I got into high school coaching, because of my ability to learn stuff, they moved me around a lot, outside linebackers. And then when I came to Carthage has two of the best secondary coaches on the planet with Mike Morgan and Ryan Marion, the two coaches that have been with Scott Surratt his whole time, the only two. They have 10 rings and they're about to get 11. And so I had to coach D-line, and I will say this, the best secondary you can have is a great D-line. And I used to tell my D-linemen that. You can have the best you can have the best cover guys. I recruited a kid named Al Harris out of Florida at Trinity Valley, and you can have the best cover guy, but if you give the quarterback long enough, he's going to find a guy open. So D-line is important this week for us. They have to be very good on their run fits. Very good on their run fits. They have to stick to those run fits. They cannot guess late and try to cross space and sell a linebacker out like we've done consistently throughout the year. And they're going to have to be great at getting after the passer.
All right.
I got a fun thought exercise for you before we thinking out loud. Like, what does Elko master in? He mastered, if you look at both games they lost this year to wildly inferior talented teams. I mean, I'm not trying to act like they lost to an FCS school, but still, based on how much they spend on their roster versus how much Louisville, SMU, I'll say they spend on their roster too. But still, Miami's more talented than both those schools. Beck, 4 interceptions in the Louisville game, 2 interceptions in the Miami game. The only 2 games they didn't have a positive turnover ratio at the quarterback position that they lost. So I think the capability of Elko and the defensive staff having multiple weeks to figure out a way to put maybe Beck's head in a blender on some of that short game stuff. Because we know Elko's MO is, hey, you know what? We're going to make you make that NFL throw to beat us. Like they did early on with Florida, and Lagway made them early, right? He was hitting that.
He did
that
those
9
fades.
ball right in
those
the window.
quick.
Anyway, but I don't think Beck can sustain that for 4 quarters if we're able to put that out there. And the second thing is, this is a fun thought exercise that everybody can do on their own. Go pull up LSU's schedule and then Miami's schedule side by side and try to think what record would be if you flip those two guys. I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure because I think LSU was a bad enough team they could get sniped by somebody worse than them. But I mean, LSU lost to Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, us, Alabama, and Oklahoma. So go figure on that, right? That's what they remind me a lot of LSU. They do. And Nussmeier and Beck. If you flip those two guys at the beginning of the year, would their story be any different? That's the kind of stuff that I always like for me, just my brain to conceptualize it, to try to be like, who are they like that we've already played? Am I saying we're about to go do the LSU thing? No, because every game is its own organism, right? Throw all of it out and throw all of it out as soon as it ends. But that's who they kind of remind me of. I think they do have some more star talent, like Baines. LSU does not have a Baines. But still, it's very similar to me in how they do things.
To me, they look a lot like Auburn. That's who they look like to me on
Yeah.
film. They look like Auburn. And
Right.
I'll say this: if you talk about the picks that he's thrown in the losses, they've done the teams that did that to him did it two ways. Number one, they mixed and disguised their coverages to confuse him, and two, they got a little pressure on him. And that's the key to the ball game is mix and disguise our coverages so that show him one thing, think that he's got this because he's not a big, hey, I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3 in my reads. He's 1, 2, oh my God. So mix and disguise your reads, get pressure on him. That's the key to the ball game.
Yeah.
And find a way
Absolutely.
to take 10 out of it.
All right, so game predictions. I'll go first. I'm going to say it's 28-17. I do think it's a close game. I even think it could be tied or us down a little bit at halftime, but I think we pull away in the second half. I think that I guess that was my most disappointing thing about the TU game was we have all season long for 11 games we had made the halftime adjustments that need to be made and fixed, and maybe not an adjustment, maybe just hey, this is what we talked about doing. You're not doing it. Let's stick to the game plan. But we played better in the second half all season. We did not in Austin. So I'm going to go with what we've done for 11 games, not what happened in one. And I'm going to say we come out in the second half, pull away, and win it 28-17. Mark, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go 31-21 Ags. And 31 is kind of a bold prediction, I think, just because Miami doesn't give up a lot of points. Kind of look at their Notre Dame game and things like that. But here's what I'm going to say. We will score 3 touchdowns on offense, and that's it. We'll kick a field goal. We might miss 6, but we'll make one. But I think we scored defensively or with special teams in this ball game. And I think it could come either way. We could get a big pick 6. Will Lee, Ricks, Chappelle could have a pick. We could have a linebacker pick. All of what they do says somebody could take an underneath route, jump an underneath route on a disguised coverage and have a pick 6. Or, when you have high level talented teams, and this is not a knock, you have a bunch of guys wearing, half their defense wears a single digit. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they're not as disciplined on special teams. And so I could see KC or my Timpson boy, Bussy, taking one to the house. It'd be like something like it's 14-14. Miami just tied it up and Bussy runs one to the house and we're back up 21-14 like that. So I'm going 31-21 Ags. I think it's going to be a great day at Kyle. All we got to do is go out and play our brand of football. Be very good at what they're being asked to do. Do your freaking job. That's it. Just do your job. You don't have to play at a higher level. You don't have to, a lot of coaches say, well, we got to play at a higher level this week. Well, I can promise you this. Carthage playing for their 11th state title, and they're just doing what they do. They're just putting in the game plan, and it is not high emotion. They've been there. They've done that. They've every kid on their roster has already played in that stadium. So they're not going to try to hype it up. Don't do that. It's going to be hype. Let the fans be hype. Let everybody else. You just go out and do business.
That's right. Yep. All right, Seth, what are you predicting, boss?
Well, before I do, and I'm never saying that a loss is a good thing. Don't take that this way. But playing in big games, like Mark is talking about, no matter what, everybody always says, act like you've been there before. When have we hosted a playoff game at Kyle? Okay. We haven't been here before. So, but that Texas game to that roster felt like a playoff game on the road because of what they were playing for, right? So, and the Texas game at home last year felt like a playoff game. I'm not saying we're going to look, I'm saying this roster is building, it's being desensitized to games like this, right? Think about how many times an A&M team is playing games in November and December that really don't matter anymore, right? We're playing meaningful games in 2 years in at Elko. 3 off the top of my head that really feel like a playoff game. Even the South Carolina game felt like a playoff game, honestly. That big game. So this roster is building that, like what Carthage has, where, yes, we're going to do the machine thing, but until you've done it a few times, it don't feel like a machine.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting. The fact that this roster is building that up, and we're going into some of these guys who've been here playing for 2 years now. This is about their 4th game. It's going to be like a playoff game. And so very excited about that. And then for the fans, guys, I mean, we're doing a playoff game. Kyle Field, can you believe this? 10 years ago, that was pure fiction. Even 5 years ago, that was pure fiction. So pretty exciting times. I'm going to go 31-27 Ags. I think it is going to be a closer game than we'd like it to be, but I do think we're going to pull it off. I think this team, after that Texas loss, and you reset a little bit, you maybe got a little too pressured up. I mean, like you said, we haven't been there before. Like, oh my gosh, like we got a chance to do a 12-0. A&M hasn't done that, and so that kind of bit. Well, now it's like, okay, we're back home. We've had 3 weeks to settle that out, get that out of our system anyway. So I think we're going to win. I think it will be close because this Miami team is pretty talented. But I could see it being more like a 31-19, and then they score, or 31-20, and they score one late, more than we take the lead at the end top thing. I could see that happening potentially, but I'm very excited about. I do think we're going to win it. I do think it will be a little closer, be a little nail biting going on.
Yeah, and I will take my chances against Cristobal in a close game. Any day of the week. That dude will shoot himself in the foot better than anybody. I still think back to that Georgia Tech game last year. Holy smokes. All right, players of the game, my prediction is, and Mark, you kind of stole my thunder. Appreciate you, bud.
Sorry,
but
I don't read.
Craver. Craver is my pick of the player for the game. Like Mark said, he hasn't been fully healthy. We've been setting him out, and he's been limited, and this, that, and the other. I think this break has been good for him. I think he's back to full health, full speed, and like you said, Mark, him and KC on the field, you're going to have to pick your poison, and I think a lot of folks will pick KC, which is understandable with the numbers and things he's done. But if you do that, Craver's going to bite you, and I think he will. So that's my player of the game. Mark, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going Cassius Howell. I want to pat myself on the back here because I can. Last year when we had Scorton and all that number one class, and look at this great transfer, and I told y'all early on, I saw this little kind of skinny defensive end. I said that freaking guy is going to be a dude. And Cassius is
for a while.
Yeah, so I've been on that train longer than anybody, and so I'm going to stick with him, and I think it fits to the game plan. If that dude can generate pressure on Carson Beck, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Good luck. So I'm going to go with him. I need him to have a great game. So get after it.
All right, and Seth, what you got, boss?
To circle back to my against the grain statistics with the run offense versus their run defense, which is statistically good, but I think is gettable. I'm going to go with, the Moss thing. I don't know if he's playing or not. Him or EJ Smith. I think after that game, I think you got to lean on EJ Smith if Moss ain't available, because we don't need our running back to explode as more than we need them to add to make the 3 to 6, make the 5 to 10. We don't necessarily, like KC and Mario and Marcel, his legs bring the explosiveness to the game. But I think somebody who will move the sticks with us in the run game, and I'm not saying EJ Smith can't rip off a big run. He did it at the Texas game. I mean, he scored from, what was that, the 18-yard line or something. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think whatever one of those two is available, or if both are available, those are the guys I'm leaning on, because I think you need something steady in the offense that can go out, and maybe it doesn't have the most explosive capability, but it does have we're going to run the play as it's designed, because we're going to get it blocked up, and then that linebacker, we're going to make those linebackers and safeties fit room, which we've seen on film that they don't do very frequently. So that's going to be EJ Smith or Moss, those running backs that can run the scheme as it's designed and add a little extra onto the run with the missed tackle or yards after contact. That's my guys. I don't know which one it'll be, though. Maybe both.
Hey, never know. Never know. So, all right, guys. Well, just wanted to tell everybody again, thank you for subscribing, liking, sharing. I ask you to do that again, please. We're trying to get to 1,500. We're at 1,426, I think, or something. We're right there, 75 out. So if you can help us there, we'd really appreciate it. And this is Tres Amigos signing out, and hope to be back next week getting ready for Ohio State. So thanks, and gig 'em.
Yeah.
Tres Amigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents, talk about Texas Aggie football.